What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Lucky Titan podcast. You probably heard this in the intro, but Erin's pretty awesome. We are like two sides of a coin. I don't know if you'd say it. Two peas in a pod, something. I really enjoy talking to Erin.
This is fun. That's my problem with your friend Barrett. We've decided it's very good that we don't live near each other because nothing would get done because we'd just be out doing the thing.
Exactly. We're talking business, but we're just making fun of each other or something. Exactly. Anyways, and I won't go into how you gashed your arm, but maybe we'll get to that. But very excited to have Erin on here, guys. So one of the big things I want to talk about today, and this is also for Erin's benefit, she was talking about something I'm really passionate about, which is going from solopreneur, hustler, to an actual business owner. I think there's a pandemic in our world right now. I'm not even allowed to say that word. I might get kicked off YouTube. Sorry. But I think there's a pandemic going on right now with entrepreneurs because, sorry for the term, but I think it's being bastardized. People are like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, walking dogs is an entrepreneurial effort, but you're not really launching a business, right? And I think the big problem in our space right now, especially in the digital world, is everybody's got a business, quote unquote. And we want to really talk about how do you take that and then become a business owner, even if you're like, I know nothing about business. So does that give you a good playground, Erin?
Oh yeah, that's my favorite playground. That's my favorite playground because it's so true because most people, and I argue, and you can tell me if you agree or not, that becoming a true business owner is actually harder than launching a business because you go, right? Yeah. You go into business to do the thing. You go in the business because you like the dogs. Mm-hmm. Dogs are your thing. You go into your pet grooming, dog walking business to play with the dogs.
Right.
It's an entirely different skill set to become a business owner. Now suddenly leadership, hiring, there's a whole different level of ROI assessment that has to go. Like there's a lot more that goes into being a business owner that you didn't learn. And what I watch happen is people spend all their time, money, energy, effort to get great at doing the thing they enjoy doing. And then they spend zero time, money, energy, effort to learn how to become a business owner, thinking, going back to our example of dogs, which is a favorite of mine, that me being a good dog entrepreneur makes me being a good business owner. And those two things have nothing to do with each other. Most people's businesses, what the business does for a living, has nothing to do with running, growing, scaling a business. So how the heck are they expecting themselves to just know how to do that?
Yeah. So let's draw the line in the sand for everybody though. So because some people might be like, well, isn't that the same thing to be an entrepreneur and a business owner? Let's draw the line. What is that delineating factor in your mind?
For me, I draw the line when, and this is how I phrased it in my own business as I was crossing this bridge. It's not the Erin show anymore.
That's good.
First and foremost, your business is not about you. That's always, always, always. Your business is not about you. It's about the prospect and your potential way to solve a problem that they have, right? Businesses exist to solve problems, not your problem, their problem.
That's a big delineating.
Business.
Let's repeat that. I mean, literally, this has been an epiphany for me. We've had this weird slump for the last couple of months, and it's been really pissing me off. And I keep going, well, my big problem is about me. I'll solve my problem. And it's no, nobody freaking cares about you, man.
It's about your problem. Sorry, nobody cares about my problem, right? Your business is not about you.
Yeah.
So the more you take steps, and here's the problem. Here's the challenge. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. Because while your business is not about you, people buy from other people. Mm-hmm. So this is, my current fun thing that I'm doing at 53 years old and 5 feet tall and curvier rather than lean. I'm playing spokesmodel, which who knew that was going to be in my future? But I now consider myself the spokesmodel of my business. My job is to be the person out in front of the brand, to help with client attraction, to help with brand awareness, to make everybody else's that didn't come out, everybody else's job in the business easier.
That's interesting.
So that's where I draw the line. So I draw the line when you realize that the business is moving beyond you as the service provider.
This is interesting. Most of the people who listen to the show, right, they're typically in B2B, so they're not selling, baby bottles, right? I'm selling to an entrepreneur. And what I found is that there's a shift in every entrepreneur's life cycle as being an entrepreneur from pro to problem solver. And or like expert to problem solver, because I feel like everybody, I really wish I had thought this thought through better before I opened my mouth.
Trying to articulate it.
It's coming out. I've just found that like everybody's coming at it as like, I've got to be the best in the world. And like, why? Right. Okay. I heard somebody give an example I thought was so brilliant. They're like, if your house is flooding and you need a plumber, you're not going to go look up their credentials. You're like, I need a freaking plumber. My house is flooding. Right. Because they're solving an immediate problem. And that's kind of what you're saying. It sounds like is like shifting from I'm building a business because I need money to I'm building a problem solving system. Yeah.
Well, and here's another way to look at this, because you said the thing, I'm building a business because I need money. If you are building your business, if you are self-employed, if you are in charge of your own paycheck for any reason that involves hating your boss, a chip on your shoulder, hating the man, hating the system, I'm not saying all those things are good things in their current condition, but if you are running your business efforts to try to reduce pain you are in, the problem with that is as soon as you alleviate a little bit of the pain, you will stop. If your goal is to alleviate pain, you stop as soon as it doesn't hurt anymore. However, if you are being pulled forward to build something and create something bigger than you, you'll never stop.
Right.
You'll never stop. So I think that's another challenge that people get into, is understanding your motivation, because the mistake, like the number one biggest mistake I watch people make over and over and over that gets them stuck in a myriad of places, is they have no idea why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
They've never reverse engineered it, because the hardest question in the world is, well, what do you want?
Right. And that's always changing, which is also really annoying.
Yeah.
Especially if you're ADD like me. Yeah.
Right.
I want to be a pilot just because.
I want to go do that. No, totally. But if you don't know what you want, you have no idea what you should be doing. Right. And so I work in the world of business strategy, branding strategy, marketing strategy. Okay. So the first thing I always ask people is, what do you want? Because if you want $1 million business, because by the way, the number is not the answer. I want $1 million business. That's not the answer, because I can come up with 1 million different ways to build $1 million business.
It's like the prognosis, right?
Yeah. Right. Like, well, do you want to be an high level luxury brand with 2 clients at $500,000? Or do you want to be the low cost leader of whatever business industry you're in? There's no wrong answer. You get to do whatever it is you want to do. But if you don't know what you're trying to create, and going back to why can't solopreneurs, entrepreneurs get over that bridge in a business ownership, is because they don't know what they're building.
Right.
They just want more money.
Yeah.
Which is not a horrible thing, but they don't know what they're building.
Well, let me add this in there too, though, is like a lot of people in my world, they're very legacy based. And so they're like, I just want 1 million people in my world. Right. And because the world needs to hear this message. Right. But it's still not really clear, like, why are you doing what you're doing? Right. Like, who are you doing it for? Because, this is, I think, probably where you're going with this, is like knowing the who is obviously very important, but it's not just knowing the who, it's knowing like why they are motivated. Like what are they trying to accomplish?
Right. Because again, your business is not about you. People buy from other humans. And so having those values align, having those characteristics align, right? That's how you build know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And how you make it all work. But it's got to be reverse engineered.
can I ask you a question here? This might sound very contrarian, so I apologize if it comes off this way. But what usually pisses me off about this, and when I was a solopreneur, was I'm like, man, people kept telling me, well, it's not about you, right? You've got to make it about solving the problem and things like this. And I'm like, I just need to pay my bills, man. And it drove me crazy. It's like
Yes.
I've got to pay my bills. So like, and I'm not trying to like dispute the fact of what you're saying, 'cause I agree completely with what you're saying, but I'm curious of your take on what's the mental shift that needs to happen there so that you realize, because like I think we all conceptually know that, well, the shift of shifting to providing more value means more money is going to
Right.
happen, bigger problems, more money. We get that. But what's that shift that's got to happen for people to be able to do that?
So the way that I describe this a couple different ways. So number one, what you're describing is when I'm talking to people, marketing, branding, strategy, sales, websites, graphic design, that's all easy. Why is it
Right.
easy? Because you can pay brilliant people to do it for you. You can
Right.
pay people to do that for you. What you're talking about, you can't outsource that, right? You can't outsource your mindset. Being able to not make it about you when you are coming from a place of either insecurity or desperation is absolutely one of the hardest things to do. Like, it's brutal. It is absolutely brutal to try to say to yourself that I'm not attached to the outcome of the one sales conversation I've managed to book for the month when the electric bill is now coming in a red envelope. That's so hard. So
Yeah.
I agree with you that that is the point, but if it was easy, everyone would do it. And
Right.
so to me, the mindset battle, and I'm very, it's conquer your business. I'm very bold and direct, and I'm not a soft place to land. It is what it is.
We're going to draw the line there for those of you who I need someone to just hold me and help me feel happy. And
That ain't me. You want someone to solve your problems, man, I am all over it. You want someone to hold your hand while you cry, I just can't handle it. But that mindset shift is the price. That work, that horribly hard, I agree with you, brutal moment, and I wish to tell you it was one moment, but it's an ongoing moment, is the price we pay.
Yeah.
It's the price we pay to get to where we want to get to.
Right.
And it is the heavy lifting. It is the hard work. And it's why as my business has iterated, one of the ways I describe it is I work at the intersection where what you need to do meets who you need to be to do it. And I say that because so many times people buy Insta tactics, buy strategy, they buy the next bright, shiny object that just do this one thing, just send this one LinkedIn auto bot, God help us, sales page in a DM. But if you can't work the plan that you just bought, the plan doesn't matter. And that was my big, horrible aha. That's why we now call fondly 2018 Erin's year of failure, because I was stuck in exactly the spot you're talking about. I went from multiple six-figure fancy corporate to top 10 out of 200 in the franchise that I bought to making $11,000.
Wow.
Which, if you've ever made $11,000 on paperwork, that's actually a negative number.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Right. And because I'm stuck exactly where in the spot that you're talking about, I was stuck in the mindset and making it about me and not being able to figure it out and not being able to get out of my own head. So that's absolutely the hardest part of the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're kind of coming to here, and if I could like put this pretty little bow on this, is that it's really the concept of becoming okay with what you want and actually like coming to terms. Because like for me, I'm like, when I first started, and I'm like, if people tell you it's not about the money, you're lying. You're lying to yourself, because you wouldn't start a business if you didn't want to make money. You wouldn't work if you didn't want to make money.
Volunteer.
There's a lot of ways to be lazy and live off the government, right?
Or go voluntarily do everything you want all day long.
Yep. Yep. And you can do all those things. But like, I think the difference is like understanding that it's okay to want the things that you want is one of the biggest, most important things, you know? And I've even found this, I have coaches that I hire to like, keep me to this. I'm like, do not let me be a whiny biatch. Let me focus on, sorry for those of you who are listening to your kids. I apologize. I'm really in a mood right now. But
I have triggered that.
yes, Erin does this to me. But you know, keep me from being whiny. Like let me be okay with saying to people like, well, I want to work with you, but we've got to make money together, or I don't want to work with you.
Right.
And it's not because I don't like you. It's because I'm on a mission to make a lot of money. I do want to change lives. And that kind of leads me to my next point. That's why I wanted to ask you is like, do you think that line that I'm coming back to the U line that we talk about, do you think that U line is shifting out of, because it's still about you. You said this, but you're also saying it's bigger than you. So it's like the U line is what you have to cross from going solopreneur to business owner. And that line, I'm going to just call it the U line, right? So from the U line to the bigger than U line, is the shift really just solving a problem? Like what's the...
No, to me, the shift, I mean, in my world, it's in several different places. So in my world, it's doing a better job of solving a problem for our clients, because now it's not just me. I'm surrounded by other service providers within my brand that can do things I can't even come close to doing. So that's bigger than me. Number two, my company is filled with people who are entrepreneurs. So we've created a situation where they can build their entrepreneurial dream job within my brand. Bigger than me, it's about their ability to be in charge of their own world. And then number three, I have a driver that's completely external. This came up for me a decade ago. I want to donate $1 million to wildlife rescue. Now, I know that doesn't look like me saving $1 million and donating it. There's got to be another way. And I say that because I used to volunteer every Friday to wildlife rescue. And I look at it this way. I used to work with about 200 baby ducks each season. And that's great. I helped save 200 baby ducks. But how many more baby ducks could I save if I had $1 million to give away? Right. I can have a bigger impact. And that's one of like using my business as an example. One of my driving forces is I believe change happens from the ground up, not the top down. And that if you put the money in the hands of the people who want to make a difference, bigger, greater, more things will happen than if you wait for an institution to do it.
Yeah. My watch is telling me to stand up. I'm like, I turned it off. I'm standing right now, watch.
Join the thing. I'm doing it.
Sorry, but I agree. That's such a powerful point of like the money is going to motivate it and amplify what you're able to accomplish. And this is the thing. We're coming up to the end of the interview here. I wish we could talk all day on this, because if I could like beat one thing into people's head is like, you got to make the jump from entrepreneur or solopreneur to business owner. Because when you make that jump, everything changes. And the other thing with it is it allows you to give yourself permission to not do everything. You can slow down. You know, this year, I recommitted that this year of like, I'm going to slow down to speed up. I'm going to do less work to make more money. That's my goal this year. And it's already been done. And that's what's really interesting. But I want to kind of just wrap up this interview. And first off, let me actually, I'm going to interrupt this for one quick second. Go hire Erin, guys. ConquerYourBusiness.com. Okay. Really incredible program. ConquerYourBusiness.com. I'm going to come back to it here in a minute. But if you're the type of person who's like, dude, I don't know how to bridge this gap, then now's the time. So, Erin, I want to ask you this though. We've covered a pretty, I would say, of like a metaphysical concept today, right? We haven't really covered what's one thing they could go do today to make that shift. So could you give us like one tactic they can go implement today to go and start making that shift?
And I did this morning. This is something that I've been doing for quite some time, this exercise. And I do this in family relationships. I do this this is beyond your business, but it works really, really well in your business. And I will do this over and over and over and over again when I'm in moments of growth and change and trying to do things. And it's effectively a journaling exercise. And it's a series of questions. And the first question is, what do I want? And as soon as in specific, Not what do I want 10 years from now, but what do I want? What do I want in this situation? What do I want out of this? What's the next change that I want? If what you want has anything to do with controlling other people, stop, go back, do it again. Because a lot of times what we want is for someone else to do something or to stop doing something. You have no influence over that whatsoever. Let it go. Right. So what do I want? And so I'll give you, we'll get tactical on it. I have a new program that I'm launching. What do I want? So I did, how many people do I want in the program? And then the 3 follow-up questions. Number 1 is, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? Because people get very sidetracked with tactics and strategies that are 15 steps from the thing that they want. What's connect the dots? What's only 1 or 2 dots away? So what do I have to do to get the thing? The second question is, who do I have to be? Who do I have to be? 99% of the time, by the way, that answer is braver, right?
Amen. Yeah.
More often than not, the answer is just braver, right? I have to be a better leader. I have to be braver. I have to let go of being a control. Like, who do I have to be? And then the last question you ask is, what do I have to believe? What do I have to believe in order to make it happen? I have to believe it's possible. I have to believe that even if it's never worked until now, that doesn't mean it won't work this time. I have to believe that I can do this. I have, all the limiting belief practice, right? So it's, what do you want? What do I have to do? Who do I have to be? And what do I have to believe? And I will do that exercise over and over and over again. And the key to this whole exercise is the hardest conversation you can have is an honest conversation with yourself. And this exercise is pretty contingent upon that.
Yeah. So can I just point something out here? Because this is one of the most brilliant things I think I've ever seen. This is something you should do every single day.
I do it every day.
It's an honesty practice, right? Of like, what do I really want? And you're going to start seeing that that's going to change. Because on a day when you're pissed, you're like, I just want more money because I'm sick of it. Right?
And so-and-so
next day you're like,
but
next day you're like, I want to change the world, right? So the other thing, I'm sure you've already thought of this because this is your model, but what this really does is shifting from entrepreneur to business owner requires a resourceful mindset of, instead of going, oh, I can't afford it, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, and saying, how can I? How can I? That needs to be the question in your mind all the time. And that's what this practice does, is like, okay, like recently I bought a Tesla and I was like, you know what? I really want a Tesla, but I'm like, I don't want to pay for it out of my own pocket. So I sat down and did something very similar to this and said, okay, I want a Tesla.
In a world of infinite possibilities, how could I get a Tesla?
Right? And it worked out. I did 2 things within 3 days. I was able to be like, I could probably buy this.
We bought a house last year. We bought a house last year this way.
Dang, that's cool.
We bought a house in the middle of a forest preserve because I had told myself 85 reasons why we couldn't do it yet.
Yeah.
Well, how the heck did I know? I never asked my boyfriend what he thought about it. I never asked the realtor what's out there. I never asked the mortgage broker about what's going on now with rates. I just made all sorts of assumptions.
Yeah.
And the other thing that this does for me is they talk, how many decisions do you make during the day? A business owner is a chief problem solver, right? You're the chief problem solver in the company. You're the driver, the strategy, the vision. You're the chief problem solver. And what this exercise does for me is it sets my stage every single day to make better decisions, because I've reminded myself what I wanted and who I had to be and what I needed to do in order to make it happen. So that when I go to make the 85,000 decisions during the day, I already have that framework in the back of my mind.
Yeah. And it really gives you that target versus like, oh, here's my goal to hit this. You're like, no, I want this. Here's how I'm going to get it. That's really freaking awesome. So there's probably about 5 other questions in your mind if you're the type of person who's listening to this and you're going, man, yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but how do I make that work? Or like, what if I don't know the steps to get there? This is where you go hire Erin, guys. Conqueryourbusiness.com. Okay. I'm going to keep reiterating this over and over again. Is like, Erin's doing something that's so unique because she's not saying, hey, come in and here's my one marketing strategy that works for everyone. Right. She's saying, hey, let me help you bridge the gap so that we can take you from, oh, well, what strategy is going to work to with certainty? Here's the strategies that work for me, not for, oh, they work for my industry or blah, 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 right? They have all these good results. Like, what strategy is going to work for you? So, once again, guys, check out conqueryourbusiness.com. Erin, do you have any final words for our audience before we hop off?
I think the reminder that it's possible. Like, my success is not tied to the fact that Erin's different than anyone else, right? It's tied to the tenacity, the persistence. It's kind of like if I can, dude, I didn't go to school. I didn't go to high school. I had other things to do in Chicago than go to school. Right? So it's not that I had this situation. And I really do feel that from a tactical standpoint, if I can do it, anybody can do it. How resilient are you? You know, one of the things I say is, what do you want and how bad do you want it?